Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's Google Hangout. I am Veena Khanke, Director of Grants and Partnerships. I have two guests with me today. First, we have Amy. Amy is Dining for Women's Data Associate, and she is going to help me on the technical side. I also have our guest today, Barry Hoffner, who is the founder of Caravan to Class. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Dining for Women members.
Welcome, Barry. Caravan to Class was founded by Barry in 2010, and the main mission of this organization is to bring literacy to communities in Timbuktu, Mali. So, Barry, why don't you share the details of this project with us?
Thank you again for this opportunity to be able to speak to you, Dining for Women members. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about Caravan to Class today, Timbuktu, literacy in Timbuktu, and finally the partnership with Dining for Women to bring literacy to 200 women in local language. So first I'd like to, before we start on our program and I talk to you about Caravan Class, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Timbuktu itself. Timbuktu is a place I had the fortune to visit in 2010 for a 50th bucket list trip. And everybody knows about Timbuktu. It's got a high name recognition, but people don't know where it is, if it's a real place. The fact is that Timbuktu has an important legacy of scholarship for all of Africa with a famous university dating back to the 12th century. For me, what I appreciate most about Timbuktu is the allure of the desert and Timbuktu's place in the southern Sahara Desert. I also really like the people of the area. They're some of the most hospitable, welcoming people I've met, predominantly the Tuareg, which is a nomadic tribe that roamed the Sahara Desert, and now because of desertification, have moved to the cities in neighboring cities and villages in the neighboring countries of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. One of the most striking things about Timbuktu are some of the buildings that they have: ancient mosques, a library dating back into the 12th century, an old university, and a trove of manuscripts that people have kept that show a legacy of scholarship and education. That is something, should be a source of pride for all of Africa. Unfortunately, the area in 2012 was plagued by Islamic militancy when a group of people that we later found out were linked to Al-Qaeda had taken over the area. Fortunately, Timbuktu and northern Mali was liberated by the French in early 2013, and allowing us to resume our operations. We've had no problems doing so since then. The most important thing about Timbuktu and the reason for Caravan to Class's existence is the very low literacy rate, not just in urban Timbuktu, but even more in rural Timbuktu, making our focus villages in around Timbuktu. Timbuktu is not just a city, it's a region. And in the region of Timbuktu, there's something like 900 villages. More than half do not have schools. And of those, we see roughly 100 scale villages, in other words, villages with populations greater than 600 that could easily accommodate having a school. Which brings us to the mission of Caravan to Class, which is to bring literacy to villages around the fabled Timbuktu and support them for a period of 3 years. Most recently, one of the more important areas of support for Caravan to Class is to teach the mothers, the women, local language literacy so that not only they can know the joys of reading, but also so that they can be better advocates for education within the family to hopefully break the cycle of illiteracy that has plagued the area. So Caravan to Class is now in the process of building our 11th school. These schools are all around the city of Timbuktu, ranging from roughly 6 miles to 30 miles outside, which allows us to be able to visit the villages on a regular basis and provide support that we do in a holistic way. Once we start a school project, it takes roughly 8 months to actually finish building the school and then start providing the support. Our impact in the area has been pretty strong since 2010. Yearly, we provide education for over 1,200 children, and because of Dining for Women, we'll be able to do that to 200 an additional 200 women over the next 2 years. Also bringing meals, school supplies, paying teacher salaries. And as you can see again at the bottom, providing female adult literacy for mothers. We also like to pride ourselves on the low cost of us providing education, where even amortizing the school construction, it costs less than $150 per year to educate a child. The thing we're most excited about is the female adult literacy program that we're partnering with Dining for Women on. We ran a pilot program a year ago, and we're proud to report that the results were very strong. This female adult literacy program is in local language of the Tuareg, which is Tamashek, and provides basic literacy. That's roughly a course of 6 months. And it's a follow-up 3-month course to discuss the uses of that newly learned literacy and how these women can not only be leaders in their village, but more importantly, be strong advocates for education within the family. So again, we're very proud to partner with Dining for Women. The objective of directly teaching 200 women basic literacy over the next 2 years and providing the important subsidiary benefit of these women being better advocates for education to break the cycle of illiteracy that has plagued the area. We have an expectation that 60% of these women will pass a test administered by the Timbuktu Ministry of Education, but that 100% will be better advocates for literacy within the family. So with that in mind, and again, appreciating the ability to speak to you today, I'm pleased to be able to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Barry. It just seems that this is such a fitting project for Caravan to Class, that you're bringing literacy to a part of the world that is well known for its former history of scholarship and culture. Dining for Women's education material for this project is going to direct our members to all that's out there so that we can learn more about Timbuktu that we've often heard about, but never really had the chance to connect with. So good luck with this wonderful project. I was just wondering if you could share for us, the Dining for Women family, what exactly is the reach of Caravan to Class presently?
Sure, we're in the process of building our 11th school. In those 11 schools, we roughly educate 1,200 children per year. Over a period of time, we've educated 3,000 children. To give you an idea, we believe there's roughly 100 scale villages that could use a school. In our geographic area, we like to concentrate our area in a place that we can get to easily and back to Timbuktu within a day. We feel there may be 40 villages. So we've covered roughly 25% of the villages we feel we could adequately build a school and provide support.
Mm-hmm. So since you are targeting the women in certain communities for this literacy project, can you give us a peek into the lives of these women? What is their age? Do all of them have families? Are you dealing with young women, older women? And how would this literacy project kind of play out in their lives?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So when we first started this pilot program, we assembled all the women in the village where we had the project. There were over 200 women, aged ranging between 20 and, let's say, up to 60 years old. And they were very excited. Unfortunately, we only had the funding to choose 20 women. These women generally stay in the village during the day. Their life is doing the daily chores, whether it's making the food, gathering wood, helping the family with a flock of goats. And it's according to them that when we talked about the idea of being able to actually learn to read in their local language, there was such an outpouring of interest that we are compelled to try to bring this same program to a number of other villages.
Mm-hmm. Earlier in your presentation, you had talked about the climate and how arid and dry the area was. Do you see that as being a problem? Would these communities be nomadic? Would they move away? Or these are fairly stable communities?
Well, stable is a relative word given the challenges that the area had experienced. But I can say that we kind of feel like these villages at this time are relatively stable. We try to stay away from the less stable villages, whether it's by size of village, geographic distance. It's important for us when we make a large investment in building a school that we choose the villages adequately. And quite honestly, we've been focusing on the villages that are closer to the river, the Niger River, which we know will be economically sustainable. For example, the village where we're currently building a school has been in place since the 1600s.
Mm-hmm. So are these literacy classes intentionally planned around maybe their whatever they have to do for their livelihoods? Or will it run throughout the year? I mean, funding available, whatever the factors are.
Yeah, it's a pretty focused program of 6 months, 4 hours per day in the afternoon after the women have done their chores. We use our school, so that's one of the reasons also for doing it in the afternoon. It's after the kids have finished their school for the day. It's really focused on basic literacy. It's a program that we don't get involved in the curriculum. It's run by the Timbuktu Ministry of Education. They use a booklet. And they make it fun, as you can see in the one photo that I showed. These women are sitting around, they're smiling. It's fun for them to be able to go to the blackboard and try to recite something in local language. However, we do believe that at the end of the day, the focus is on trying to teach them basic literacy so that they can read signs, for example, potentially read a story. And then after that, this group of women can form the basis of a leadership within their own communities to advance the cause of literacy within the family. That's an important goal for us.
Mm-hmm. Earlier in your presentation, you had talked about how the Dining for Women grant is possibly paying for meals and snacks. Can you elaborate on why that is so important when we're trying to pair nutrition and education together?
Well, the first point is that food is a huge draw. I can just say, for example, in building schools, we try to focus on villages we believe are very motivated for the cause of literacy. But we also know that providing food enables parents to more easily make the decision to let their children go to school. We can't force them. We can only try to pick the right villages, provide the right incentives. We work with the villages in a holistic way. And so when we were organizing the program for female adult literacy, we felt we should use the same advantages, providing food for the women so that it makes it more interesting for them to be able to attend the course, that there's some sort of benefit and the link between education and food, because there is food insecurity generally in the area.
Mm-hmm. So as we wrap up this Google Hangout, Barry, can you share with us what your future plans could be in the next 10 years? Where do you see Caravan to Class in the next decade?
That's a great question. And it's a question that I've recently been thinking a lot about, and I do have an idea. We do see a day in sight where we feel like we will have built most of the schools we can build. Our next step really is to focus on trying to move girls from the 6th grade, which is where our school stops, by scholarship, and try to take them all the way through university. So in other words, our focus has been trying to provide unknown impact for a lot of kids for the minimum amount of money. And I think the future of Caravan to Class down the road will be to transition to providing really specific impact at a high level and a known impact for fewer people as they make their way all the way through university. And that's a direction that we hope to start next year, and we believe we have a lead grant for that, just starting down that road.
Well, Barry, thank you so much for sharing the details of your project with us today. Clearly, it seems that Caravan to Class has developed some deep connections with this community in Timbuktu, and you have great plans as you see the decade unfold. So we at Dining for Women wish you the absolute very best for success on this project. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to present Caravan to Class to the Dining for Women members. Thank you, Dr. Kandike.
You're welcome.